my name is Abigail Boozer. I'm working on my master's in library sciences, and I am so excited to be working on the practicum. That's what I've been working on this semester, and this is reflection number 3, the video reflection. As far as what I expected from the program, I think that this totally met and exceeded everything I could have imagined when I decided I wanted to pursue library media. I just really knew that I loved technology and I felt passionate about helping kids learn to read and learn to love to read. But I didn't really realize how much went on behind the scenes of running a library. I knew that sitting with kids and helping them read and helping them find books that are the right fit and helping them explore different genres was all part of the job, but I had no idea everything that went into selection and cataloging and weeding, and oh my gosh, there's so much that you don't know that librarians are doing. So that was very eye-opening. I thought I was going to be taking lots of classes about books, and really the one children's literature is all that there is really about books. But I think it is super important for library students to know everything that goes on in the library, obviously. So I really loved one class that stood out to me, especially was the library media administration. That one I didn't realize how much leadership was required in the library and how much of a leader and just a real, in the library, you get to create that culture and help create that culture in the school. So that is a huge responsibility. It's a huge part of the leadership, and so I just really think that that was a great class to make sure that it's in there, along with selection and cataloging and those must-haves for learning. So as far as my expectations, I just really thought I was going to be learning about books. The classes that I really liked were technology-based. I've always loved technology. That's one of the reasons I knew I wanted to go to the library, because I knew the library these days is more technology-geared. In a lot of buildings, the technology is run and facilitated by the librarian, and I've always found that to be something I enjoyed. So I knew that I would like those classes. I was pleasantly surprised that I always walked away with something useful or a tool to try with each of those technology classes. I never was oh, I know all of that. And so just the learning curve of there's always something new to try, and I think that's great. It just helps show that we are lifelong learners. I knew I wanted to be able to help a whole school of kids be able to love reading and help to create that culture and help to explore curiosity and make a welcoming, safe place, not only in the library but in the school. And the library is definitely the place where that can start, and then it can grow from there. And so I think I've loved getting to do that. This is my 5th year in education as a classroom teacher, and I have loved getting to do that for my kids. I think I've been super successful, and so now I'm very excited to move to where I can have a bigger impact on the whole school and not just my 20 or 30 kids. One of my challenges might have been just the practicum in general. 90 hours is a lot, especially in the times of COVID and being a remote teacher. I felt very overwhelmed at the thought of trying to find a sub so I could get some hours. That was incredibly hard. But I have a principal who has been flexible. I have several mentors who've been super flexible and have just let me come when I can or come on certain days when my students are having asynchronous work. So that's been really helpful. Just in COVID, I think we're all learning to be really flexible, and no one really has a set schedule anymore. We're all kind of can fly by the seat of our pants. So that has been super helpful. I've really loved getting into libraries, even though that was a challenge to schedule it and get it all done. I've loved getting to see different libraries especially at different levels. I have been in 2 different libraries as a teacher in 2 different buildings, so I've gotten to experience 2 different librarian styles. But middle school and high school is like a whole new ballgame. So it was really cool to get to see what those can look like. And granted, COVID has changed everything. So like in high school, there weren't as many kids coming in as might be normal. Middle school, the experience looked a little bit different. There were lots of kids in that library when I was in there. So it was just interesting to see the different policies, the different procedures, the different programs set up for each grade level. It was also interesting because I got to see them cataloging at the high school level. They did a few books so that I could see what that looked like, to totally catalog your own books. So I felt like cataloging came alive in that instance, because in the elementary schools in our district, we're really lucky and we get all of our things cataloged by the central office, which I don't know why or how they decided that, but elementary, they come already in the system, so the clerks just have to print out the desk. The clerks have to print out the barcode and then the spine label, and that goes pretty quickly if you don't have to catalog all of the books. So that was really interesting to see. I was glad I was exposed to that. It also was just interesting to see how librarians have a different relationship with their students in middle school and high school, just because their kids are so much bigger and older, and their kids are readers. And I thought it was super interesting that in our high school, when we were walking around, there were books on the shelves that might have some sensitive topics in them, and they had all of them, like books that adults are reading, and it felt like a little mini public library because they just had all the books and they were just encouraging kids to read. So that was great to see. I think the program felt really doable until this semester. It felt a little stressful, but I think everyone probably has that. But I think the program was super doable. It took me 2.5 years, so I took 1 class each semester, but I was working full-time as well, and then took a couple classes in the summer, really loaded my summer up. I loved the flexibility of being able to pick. Most classes had like either an all-summer option, or you could pick like an expedited option that was just for 1 month, or even sometimes in the semesters, if you knew August through October was going to be super busy, you could pick the November through December class. So I really loved that the schedules were flexible and they could work around when I knew I was going to be busy as a teacher, but I also loved taking them as I was teaching so I could immediately go and apply whatever I saw. So if I saw a really cool website, like the next day I could go try it with my kids because I had kids that I could be trying it with. So I really loved, even though it was a little stressful being full-time teacher and a grad student, it ended up working out really well. I wouldn't have done it any other way now that I'm almost done. I think one highlight is that I feel as prepared as I can. I've started doing interviews and I feel adequately able to answer their questions just because I've been so well prepared in classes, and I feel like it is a little bit like teaching though, so you can know the right answers, you can say the right answers, you've done the research, you know what they're looking for, but until you're in your own library, you don't really know what it's going to be like. So I feel like I'm prepared, and Fort Hays has prepared me the best to their ability, and now it's just kind of a learning curve for whatever building I end up in, whatever setting I end up in. There'll be like definitely on the job learning and how things work in that building. Another thing I've loved about the observations and just all of the research is that there's so many different ways to do things in the library. Like one librarian can do something completely different than another elementary librarian just down the road. So I love the flexibility. It's a little bit overwhelming just because there are a lot of options, like whether you want to redo your whole library and go to ditch the Dewey system, which is big in right now. So just all of those different options are a little bit overwhelming just because you get to make all of those options in your library and all of those decisions in your library. So I feel prepared. I feel like I know where I can look for answers. I know good resources. I have a whole Google folder full of things that I can look back on. I have my handbook created. So I feel like I have a lot of good stuff, a lot of good experience, and now it is just up to me to find a job and to actually get that real world, real library, your own library experience.